Hello and welcome, guys, to Talk Football HD, and welcome to the next episode of Let's Talk Football with. और आज हमारे साथ है यहाँ पे अनंत त्यागी, a man who needs no introduction. Anant, it's great to have you here. First of all, how are you?
I'm great, and it's so nice to have somebody else start a show and not me. सबसे ज़्यादा refreshing चीज़ तो इस show की ये है कि मतलब मुझे खुद start नहीं करना पड़ा कोई show, वो अपने आप में मेरे लिए एक बहुत अच्छी चीज़ है.
So you are speaking, and then there's a voice inside your head as well that is telling you कि okay, अभी ये बात करना है, अभी ये बात करना है. So how do you manage your
talking
thought process?
points? So I mean, if you want to start on that note, I mean, basically what happens is you get wired up. There's a earpiece. I can show you later if you want. So it just goes straight into a ear. It's connected to an audio gadget at the back. So the phone, imagine the gadget is around this big. It goes right behind your back and it's clipped onto your belt. And there's another gadget, which is the microphone, which is clipped on your belt. So there are two gadgets on your belt at all points in time. Ek jo hai wo is like, it's called an IFB, which is basically an audio input. And the other one is a microphone, which is the audio output for you. And the audio input is connected directly to the production control room. So what happens is there's a producer there is a director there is a vision mixer there. So they're all kind of talking to each other at the same time. And there is a latch with which they can latch on and speak to you. And they can latch off if they don't want to speak to you. So suppose there's something they want to line up in the back end, like, okay, let's fire graphics about Virat Kohli power play runs. So that graphic is lined up, then the producer will just latch on and say, okay, Anant, we're ready to take the graphics for Virat Kohli power play runs. Just say first 6 overs, don't say anything beyond that. So he's talking to me while I'm asking the question to somebody, or when the person like an Irfan or a Harbhajan or Ashish Nehra or somebody is answering back. So similarly in football as well. Football में थोड़ा added वो हो जाता है, stadium में आप कर रहे हो, there's a lot of noise. And you have to learn to filter that with trying to hear your producer and director. And the director will be like, okay, your camera now. Okay, look at white camera now. Okay, staying on your camera. So वो directions भी आ रहे होते हैं. But it sounds a little difficult. Once after a year or 2 years of doing it, it becomes muscle memory. फिर आपको वो जैसी बोलेगा your camera तो आपकी गर्दन अपने आप ही आपके कैमरा की तरफ घूम जाएगी. वो जैसी chip बोलेगा आपकी गर्दन अपने आप ही chip की तरफ घूम जाएगी. So it just becomes muscle memory.
But Anand, live television पे, you know, I mean, like थोड़ा सा nervousness होता है. I mean, like you have done it for so long. अब तो आप काफी ज़्यादा expert हो चुके हो उस area में. But then I just imagining कि starting में it might used to be like थोड़ा सा एक nervous सा moment होता होगा कि like इतनी सारी चीजें, you have to take care of a lot of things. So many people are, the entire world is watching you because you are on the television and you can't mess it up. Doesn't it affect with your brain कि नहीं, you have to get this right? And
it does, yeah. But you know, I always remember something that Mayanti Langer had told me. Now, she was my senior in college. We went to Hindu college together. She was 1 year senior to me. And it so happens that, you know, by coincidence, by luck, by destiny, that we've landed up in the same profession. So she uses this line which says, pressure is a privilege. And the moment you realize that, yaar, isse badi privilege aur kya ho sakti hai, that you're going to people's homes without really knowing whose homes you're getting into. And I mean, that automatically, that can pressurize you to perform less than who you are or what you are, but that can also galvanize you into performing at a level which you also did not imagine that you could. And मैंने जब शुरू किया था अपना करियर, तो मैं हमेशा अपनी 85 साल की दादी माँ को इमेजिन करता था कि वो देख रही होंगी, तो मैं उस स्पीड में बोलूं, उस तरीके से बोलूं ताकि समझ में उनको भी आ जाए. It was just something I did. Like people keep kids in mind. People keep, you know, people of 15 to 25 in mind, क्योंकि वो आपका कभी-कभी core audience होता है. I used to keep her in mind. मुझे लगता था कि अगर मैं ये बोलूंगा, उनके लिए शायद सुनील छेत्री, गुरप्रीत सिंह संधू, संदेश झिंगन, मेसी, रोनाल्डो के अलावा या मैराडोना, पेले के अलावा और कोई, everybody is a stranger to her. So if I'm talking about a Liston Colasso in Indian football, or an Amrinder Singh in Indian football, or I don't know, maybe like Ayush Badoni जो आजकल लखनऊ सुपर जायंट्स के लिए क्रिकेट खेल रहा है, she'll be like, कौन है ये? तो मैं बताना चाहूंगा कि वो कौन है इससे पहले कि उनका सवाल आए कि ये किसकी बात हो रही है और क्यों. वो बहुत जरूरी है, और उस पेस पे होपफुली ताकि उनको समझ में भी आए. तो ये this was a metric I used to follow, and automatically pressure कम हो जाता है. आपको लगता है दादी तो देख और कौन देख. तो आप अगर अपनी ऑडियंस को equal to 1 लेके चलो, तो फिर 100 हो, 150 हो, लाख हो, करोड़ हो, doesn't really make a difference. You're just trying to talk to that person. That was the way I used to handle it initially.
Nice. Actually, when I used to be in college, so I used to do the anchoring and all. So मेरे भी seniors थे college में. They used to tell me कि there are a lot of people sitting in front of you, like 500 people in front of you. So you have to
Yeah.
maintain the eye contact, and there are some people who just keep staring at you like this. So they gave me this tip कि when you anchor, so don't look in their eyes, look at the forehead. In that way you will be looking at them, but not actually looking at them. So that was a
That's
hack,
true.
and that's what I used to do
Yeah.
over there. So yeah, very good pep
That's a,
talks I'm
that's a
getting.
no, that's a good one. That's actually a good one to keep for me as well. Maybe later on, sometime in life, जब इस तरह की
Yeah.
situation आई, तो होता है कई बार. मतलब it's like swimming and driving actually, where you never really forget, but it always is a bit pressurizing when you come back into it after a bit of a break. You would have noticed it. आप holiday पे गए, आप वापस आए, अपने headphone
हाँ.
लगाया, अपने laptop के camera की तरफ देखा, और लगा कि यार मैं बोलना क्या चाह रहा था. वो होता है कई बार.
Happens.
Anyway, yeah. So that's how it started for me.
I just would like to start off very simply. थोड़ा सा life के बारे में बात करते हैं. So Anant, grandson of Dushyant Kumar and Kamleshwar, Padam Bhushan Award author, the creative side was always there with you in your genes, but you tried to kind of distance yourself from the non-legacy career. That was your ultimate path. How much of an influence these greats have been in your life? And if there's any favorite Dushyant Kumar poem that you can remember right now?
Let's start with that, shouldn't we? My favorite line by my Dada, I used to call him Babaji. I never actually met him. He passed away in 1975, a decade before I was born. So, I mean, sadly, I didn't get a chance to meet him. I mean, he passed away at a very early age as well. He was in his early 40s when, unfortunately, he had a massive heart attack and he passed away. But obviously, through his works, I've managed to know him better, understand him better. And one of his lines that I almost swear by is, कैसे आकाश में सुराख नहीं हो सकता, एक पत्थर तो तबीयत से उछालो यारो. And I think that almost kind of sums up all of us people, someone like you, someone like me, who's ever had self-doubts, who's ever had doubts about the way they want to live, they want to be, the way they want to work, what kind of work they want to, dedicate their life to, and what kind of human beings they want to be. And it's never too late. कैसे आकाश में सुराख नहीं हो सकता, एक पत्थर तो तबीयत से उछालो यार. It's all about तबीयत से उछालने की देर है और तबीयत से उछालने की बात है. शिद्दत से करेंगे तो hopefully one day the difference will be apparent and stark. So that's all we're trying to do, make a difference slowly but surely, all of us. And that's the line I swear by. But as far as the influence is concerned, I was very lucky that I met my Nana Kamleshwar. Yeah. As you said, yeah, he was a Padma Bhushan awardee. He had a vast amount of experience of writing novels. Then his novels got made into films, and he wrote a lot of screenplays of movies like Andhi, Mausam, Choti Si Baat, Burning Train, things like that. Then he also became the Deputy Director General of Doordarshan. He used to host a show called Parikrama, which was a show about the common man. He would, go on the streets, interview people, thele wala ho gaya, ya, the common man, and what his problems or her problems are, and how they can be helped a little by people like us who are obviously more privileged than they are. तो उनके जब वो अनुभव शेयर करते थे, when they would, he would share his experiences with me while I was studying in Delhi University. It was obviously a huge learning experience, and just watching him do his work through the day, dedicating his entire day to reading and then writing and then speaking so perfectly and appropriately on the phone or on the stage whenever I got a chance to see him. It obviously inspires you. It can't not inspire you. So as far as influence is concerned, the major influence came from my Nana. And a big part of it was also because of my father, because he always stressed on the need to, read a lot and then write. And only then you are ready to face any camera. Never skip the first two steps and try and get to the third step, because inadvertently it won't be for the long run.
Those are some tips. I better write them down, because you know what, seriously, sometimes we just want to rush into things and do it correctly. This is the thing, let's do it. But if there is not a proper execution, because the first two steps, like you mentioned, those are the mool mantra of things, if they have to go perfectly. But the reason I said that you try to distance yourself from the non-legacy career, schooling from Doon School, BA Eco Ons from Hindu College DU, Masters in Mass Communication from Jamia Millia Islamia, and then Digital Communication and Media course from London School of Economics and Political Science. And then you worked as a business analyst for a top-notch firm. So, Martin, what really changed over there?
I don't think anything really changed when I was I grew up in Delhi. I was born in Bhopal. My parents मेरे दादा का घर भोपाल है. तो दादा दादी का घर भोपाल होने की वजह से my mom and dad were there. In fact, my mom and dad got married almost because my nana and my dada were best friends.
Oh.
And one was a writer and one was a poet. So उन्होंने कहा दोस्ती को रिश्तेदारी में बदल दी जाए वाली जो बात उन्होंने थोड़ी जिंदगी में ज्यादा seriously ले ली. But thankfully I benefited from it. I can't complain. तो मीडिया से रिलेटेड कुछ करने का इरादा शुरू से था. I always thought, this is most likely the field I'm going to choose because वो घर में उस तरह का माहौल होता है. सब बड़े बड़े लेखक, बड़े बड़े शायर जो अच्छा बोलते हैं, अच्छा लिखते हैं, वो आते हैं और सबसे पहले आपसे ये सवाल पूछते हैं, बेटा तुम क्या लिखते हो? तो दिमाग में हमेशा रहता था कि यार मतलब लिखना is a very important part of living in this family. So I went to Doon because my dad wanted me to go to Doon. He just thought this guy is good enough to go to a boarding school where he can look after himself and to a boarding school which is decent enough जो उसके career के options थोड़े से खोल सकता है, जो उसके life के experiences और horizons को थोड़ा सा broaden कर सकता है. So Doon School happened because of that, and I was very lucky because I grew up in a middle class English speaking family. So I always thought that when I go to Doon, it was a very intimidating experience because there were kids from all stratas of life, primarily the upper strata, and उनको देख के वो जिस तरह से उठते थे, बैठते थे, उनका जो दिन भर में जो उनका रूटीन रहता था, वो देख के ऐसा लगता था कि यार you might not be able to survive here because you're a Bhopali, right, trying to make it amongst these kids who are from very very affluent and rich families. And it was a school which had names like Pranoy Roy and Karan Thapar, Vikram Seth and Rajiv Gandhi. So there was a sense of intimidation. But that is where the underdog story also comes in, because you're not supposed to do well in that school. So you almost motivate yourself to prove the odds wrong. And I think that kind of spirit came from there. So the base of media came from the family, that indefatigable spirit or the feeling that, yeah, I must prove people who think I'm not bound to succeed here wrong. It started with that. And thankfully, Doon School gave me that platform where I got an opportunity to do many things, play many sports. So that exposure to sport came from there. And just that all of it combined somehow to get me into this career. There were pit stops in the middle, like Hindu College was, because everybody from Doon School was going to Delhi University. And I thought, right, everyone goes to Delhi University, तो हमें भी शायद यही करना चाहिए. कोई सेंट स्टीवंस जा रहा है, तो मैंने भी सेंट स्टीवंस का इंटरव्यू दिया. वहां पे इंग्लिश ऑनर्स मिल रहा था, हिंदू में इकोनॉमिक्स ऑनर्स मिल रहा था. आई चोज इकोनॉमिक्स. उस समय द राइट थिंग टू डू वाज टू डू इकोनॉमिक्स एंड कॉमर्स इफ यू हैड गुड ग्रेड्स. तो ग्रेड्स भी अच्छे आ गए थे. So that was that's how I went to Hindu के बाद लगा कि यार मीडिया में कुछ करना है. नाना हमेशा कहते हैं do something in media, you're cut out for that. अच्छा बोलते हो, अच्छा लिखते हो. So I said चलिए तो मीडिया में क्या कर सकते हैं. Typical 18-19-year-old we're talking about here, who's thinking, yeah, so मीडिया तो हो गया, अब करूं क्या. तो गूगल किया, जो भी मिला सबसे पहले, अच्छा there's JNU, that's pretty good. There's this college in Chennai which is pretty good. FTI भी अच्छा है. जामिया मास्को भी कुछ ठीक लग रहा है. यहाँ पे बरखादत टाइप लोग पढ़े हैं. वहां पे चले गए, इंटरव्यू दिया, हो गया. तो जब इंटरव्यू में हो जाता है आपको लगता है, oh, that was destiny. मतलब मैंने इंटरव्यू दिया, उसमें हो गया. अगर रिजेक्ट हो जाता तो लगता that was not destiny. So वो भी हो गया. तो जामिया पहुंच गया. जामिया करने के बाद was the first reality check where I went to people in different news channels and I thought, हम तो जाएंगे और स्टूडियो हमारे लिए खाली होगा और शुरू कर देंगे एंकरिंग. But that's not how it works. You have to intern, you have to go out, you have to be a reporter, you have to do lots of things. And the salary was what, 6,000, 7,000, 10,000 back in the day when I started, which is a lot more than when people like Harsha Bhogle must have started. But for us, we were like, यार इसमें क्या होगा, मैं तो डून स्कूल का पढ़ा हूँ, मतलब I need to obviously do better than this in life. So then I rejected the idea of getting into media then. And then I realized that यार sports पसंद है, sports में exposure है, experience है. In fact, my master's dissertation in Jamia was also in sports. So I thought, okay, I need to combine the two together. I don't want to get into financial journalism. I want to get into sports journalism. उस समय avenues नहीं थे sports के, sports journalism के India में. There was no dedicated course in sports journalism or anything like that. So I said, okay, let me try England. Why England? Because England is football, it's cricket, it's Formula One, it's tennis, Wimbledon. And the US was more about American football and baseball and basketball. 3 sports that I was not very comfortable with. I might have watched it off and on, but itna kabhi nahi, kyunki TV pe utna aata bhi nahi tha basketball ke alawa. So England gaya, England mein ek university dekhi, landed up in that university, and I realized that the climate over here is not the greatest. I mean, my skin color, my accent, and the way I speak, the way I talk, the way I am might come in the way of getting a job opportunity here. And that's why I decided to go back into the corporate route. I realized that student loan to le liya hai, England to pahunch gaya, I'm not going to waste this opportunity. I am in a land of my dreams, so I may as well make the most of it. So that's how I got into a corporate job. So it's definitely not the path to take, but at least mere career trajectory या मेरी educational trajectory को देख के लोग कहेंगे चलो ये तो नहीं करना है. If that is one way I can help people.
Oh wow. नहीं मतलब you have been the ideal son, you know, वो जो एक saying है ना शर्मा जी का लड़का, you can actually change it to त्यागी जी का लड़का, because you know ultimately you are here, ultimately you did so well, you know, अपने heart को follow किया आपने, somehow it led you to the perfect place that you wanted to be. So that is an inspiration. But you know what, there is another story that you were once having lunch with one of your friends and he suggested you to audition for Hindi commentator at ESPN Star Sports. So just tell us something about that. मतलब वो आई कहाँ से बात है? Because मैं भी काफी सुनी है that your friend told कि यार आवाज आपकी अच्छी है, you should go for this. So something like that happened.
Yeah, it literally was like that. मैं YMCA में था. Actually, मैं अपने apartment shift कर रहा था. I was living in one part of London and I wanted to move to another part. And in the middle, मुझे किसी ने बताया कि यार Indian YMCA एक जगह है जहाँ पे खाना मिलता है. So you don't have to cook. And I had packed up all my utensils. मतलब जो माँ ने कुकर वुकर भिजवाए थे, कढ़ाइयाँ और ये सब भिजवाई थी, वो सब मैंने पैक कर दिया था. अब वो दोबारा खोलना अपने आप में एक टास्क है, वैसे हम लोगों के लिए होता है. So I said नहीं यार, let's go to a place जो खाने का ख्याल रख ले. So I was getting good Indian food there in Indian YMCA. That was my only reason why I went and stayed. And as it turned out, that turned out to be a big, inflection point in my life, because thank God I didn't open my utensils or my Pacha masale ke dabbe, because I realized that going to YMCA gave me this opportunity. But yeah, just to come back to your point, I was eating lunch and I entered the canteen in the YMCA and I saw this poster which said ESPN Star. I might be quoting it wrong, but ESPN Star are looking for Hindi-speaking commentators based out of London.
Yeah, okay.
ठीक है यार, मतलब लड़का तो बगल में है और ये पूरे शहर में ये पोस्टर लगाए जा रहे हैं. ऐसी instinctive feeling आई, because you love football, you've gone to stadiums, watched football. Back in the day, I'd even done security at a stadium once. I become one of the stewards, wore one of those orange bibs and gone and watched a Stoke City versus Portsmouth game back in 2008-9 की बात कर रहा हूँ. तो अब लगा कि यार इससे ज्यादा करीब तो नहीं आ सकते आप प्रीमियर लीग के. सोचा, फिर याद आया अपना पेचेक और अपना बैंक अकाउंट और लगा कि यार ये इस रास्ते नहीं जाना बॉस. एक बार हम गए थे, 10,000 की सैलरी मिल रही थी, and we realized कि यार this is not going to cut it for us. So either you get ready that you're going to start from scratch again, or you say 3 साल मैंने इस देश को दिए हैं काम करते हुए, now I'm 2 years away from my residence, 3 years away from my residence. Tunnel vision, boss. So I said no, forget it. I went back, दाल अच्छी बनी थी, सब्जी भी बढ़िया थी. Went, filled my plate. Suddenly a friend of mine comes up to me, he said, "यार तूने वो ESPN," there were a lot of Indians, as you can imagine, Indian YMCA. There's a guy called Abhinav who I was having lunch with, and he saw the poster himself, and he says, "Yeah, you saw that poster?" I said, "Yeah, I did. वो ESPN Star वाला ना." He said, "हाँ, अरे तो मेरा जो दोस्त है ना, वो ESPN Star में ही काम करता है, उसी ने लगाया यहाँ पे poster." I said, "Oh, really?" They're like, हाँ, वो वहाँ पे lunch कर रहे हैं. So there were 4 people having lunch. One of them was his friend. So I said, अच्छा तो मतलब वो लोग यहाँ पे आए हुए हैं मतलब रिक्रूट करने. So he said, yeah, they are here to recruit. I just met him. I said, okay, cool. बस इतनी बात हुई. उसने कहा तू जाना मिल ले एक बार यार. You got a media degree and you got a good voice and stuff. तू try क्यों नहीं करता commentary के लिए? तो मैंने पहले मतलब वो होता है ना, there's a devil sitting here and there's an angel sitting here, and one is saying, no, don't go. The dal is nice, the sabzi is nice, and remember the paycheck that's coming in 10 days. And another one is saying, go. जाओ बेटा जी ले अपनी जिंदगी वाली जो फीलिंग. Anyway, I went and I met them and then they called me for a workshop. I auditioned. Workshops हुई खूब सारी 6 हफ्ते चली, and then I landed up at Stamford Bridge commentating on Chelsea versus Hull City as my first game. So I was very blessed in that sense that I decided to listen to Abhinav and take his advice and go and meet the person who he was friends with.
इनक्रेडिबल स्टोरी। अभी मतलब उस अगर दाल को ज्यादा ही पसंद आ जाती तो होपफुली शायद आप नहीं गए होते। बट अच्छा है अभिनव भाई ओजी हैं यहाँ पे, बिकॉज वो एक होता है ना लाइफ में एक ड्राइविंग, एक स्टिमुलस दैट ड्राइव्स यू फॉर दिस, यू नो, कभी कभार आपको एक लिटिल पुश चाहिए होता है। एंड यू नो थैंकफुली इट हैपेंड। एंड स्टैमफोर्ड ब्रिज, चेल्सी वर्सेस हल, सो क्या वहां पे वो पहला वो प्यार चेल्सी के साथ स्टार्ट हुआ, और क्या वो पहले से था आपके पास?
यार चेल्सी के साथ प्यार बहुत पुराना है, and this is something I've said before as well. I mean, sometimes you realize that there is a design in everything. Like I said, now when I see Mayanti Langer in studios in Star Sports, I feel like, yeah, we were in college together, we used to do theater together, and now we're in the same space. Maybe there is a design to this, that you're going to land up in the same place. Similarly with Chelsea, I was in boarding school, and everybody was a big Manchester United fan back in boarding school. हम लोग यूजुअली तो यूनिफॉर्म पहनते थे, बट जब मिड टर्म्स पे जाते थे अपनी, तो ट्रैकिंग करने वगैरह, यू वर अलाउड टू वेयर होम क्लोथ्स, एंड दोस होम क्लोथ्स दैट टाइम, द कूल होम क्लोथ्स वर NBA basketball jerseys, Thierry Henry jerseys, or Manchester United jerseys, even better. So I was just fed up of seeing red. I mean, it's ironic that we've got red stripes here at the moment, but I was like fed up of just seeing red all around me. So I said, "Nee, yaar." And suddenly in one of those trekking experiences, I saw this guy wearing a Zola 25 jersey. And that was the first time I ever heard of a Chelsea jersey. I never knew anything about Chelsea up until then. But I'd heard of Zola because in school there was a lot of chat around how that guy had played with Maradona, and Maradona was a big deal.
Yeah.
Romario was a big deal. The OG Ronaldo was becoming a big deal that time. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is an interesting name. ये तो मैं follow करता हूँ थोड़ा. तो मैं घर गया, I looked up Zola. I figured out that he plays for Chelsea. I said, okay, what is this club all about? Started doing some research, started watching a few games whenever I got a chance, however I could watch it. And I realized, yeah, ये तो बड़ी underdog story है. Got me back to the Dune School thing, where I thought, you're the underdog in Dune, and Chelsea is the underdog in the Premier League. They're not supposed to win, but sometimes they surprise opposition. So you root for the underdog. I rooted for Chelsea, and that's how it began. It began literally with a Zola 25 jerseys up in the hills somewhere in Garhwal.
That is incredible. मतलब कि एक अंडरडॉग को सपोर्ट करना, अंडरडॉग को फॉलो करना, because more or less people what they do is they look up for a team जो कि सबसे ज्यादा टाइटल्स विन कर रही है, जो सबसे ज्यादा गेम्स जीत रही है, उनमें कोई एक पावर है, and they are like, okay, this is going to be my team. So एक हिल्स में आपने जहाँ फ्रांको जोला की जर्सी देख ली, नंबर 25 के, नहीं वाला, like, man, this is something different. And
yeah, that's it. Literally, that was it. And since then, I just followed Chelsea throughout. And फिर उसके बाद तो we got very lucky with the Roman Abramovich era coming and the success that it followed. I watched one of your videos where you spoke about the 21 trophies since the Roman Abramovich era, which is level with Man United, and Man City are close behind. But you're absolutely right. That's just pure luck that you happen to be supporting a club which also starts breathing success over the next 2.5 decades. But Zola 25 is what kicked it off.
No, seriously. But all about that thing that is going on with Chelsea now, a new takeover is over there. The form of Chelsea has been थोड़ा सा एक tag notch drop किया है. There are a lot of people who are going, and Thomas Tuchel अभी recently कहते हैं कि it feels like I'm helpless that the people are just leaving Rudiger now, and then कुछ दिनों में it would be Christensen and maybe Aspilicueta or maybe Alonso as well. So what are your views about that? How do you think that they will be able to manage back to where they were a season back?
I'm sure they'll be fine eventually. I mean, now that the new consortium led by Todd Bowley has been announced, I'm sure things will eventually, get back to normal. It might take some time. The club is in a state of flux, which is exactly what the situation is, right? Arsenal also went through it.
Yeah.
I mean, not enough people give credit to Wenger. That जब उन्होंने स्टेडियम पे इतना खर्चा किया, उसके बाद भी he kept Arsenal competitive. He constantly got them into the top four, and people used to be, I remember planes used to be flown with Wenger out and all of that, and I used to be like, yeah, these guys don't know what, it's like that famous saying, you don't know what you had until he or she is gone, and that's exactly what was true with Arsenal. I feel that's also very similar with the Roman era. But nobody's indispensable in this world. Not me, not you, not Thomas Tuchel, not Abramovich, and things will be fine eventually. The four names that you mentioned, obviously their departures being speculated is a big deal. And that those four names also mentioned tell you what Chelsea are lacking, and that's why the drop in form has happened. They suddenly become suspect at the back.
Yeah.
So now when a Christensen goes away to maybe a Real Madrid, or a Rudiger goes away to a Madrid, Christensen goes to Barcelona, wherever, and Marcus Alonso, there are rumors of a rift and all of that. He goes away. Azpilicueta is, he's basically, he leaves everything on the ground, but he may not be the most talented defender going around. If he goes, there's a sense of disbalance that will be created. But at the same time, what inspires me is that there is a serious focus on investment in the academy that has gone in, and it's Chelsea's academy that kept them afloat in that Lampard era where
absolutely
nobody could have come in, nobody could have gone out. So if we could stay competitive and qualify for top 4 on the last day in that season as well, why not continuously? अब थोड़ा सा बिगड़ तो हम जाते हैं जब ट्रॉफी ज्यादा जीत लेते हैं, and then you finish that whole quota with the Club World Cup and all of that. But you've got to be conservative sometimes. When I remember Harsha Bhogle saying this line about Saurav Ganguly's form when he was about to go out of the team. He was like, when adversity comes knocking on the door, you have to curtail your ambitions. And that's exactly what is true with Chelsea at the moment. You just have to curtail your ambition a little bit. So stop hitting those inside-out shots maybe, and just start playing on the ground a little more, as Dada wasn't doing, and Harsha pointed it out. And maybe Chelsea fans need to think of it the same way, that people come, people go, the club remains, and trophies will come. And that's not why we support the club, right? Trophies are good to have, but the club is a must-have.
Exactly. बहुत अच्छे तरीके से explain किया, because अभी currently when you look at the new crop of fans that are coming, they are relentless. They want to see their team win after games after games after games, because that has happened to me as well. Being a Barca fan, I've gone through a lot of shit.
Exactly.
So even right now, the whole rumor of Frenkie de Jong is swirling around that Manchester wants to buy him and everything. So maybe the time this video is released, वो उसका एक decision आ जाएगा. But I hope that is in favor of Barcelona. So I do understand fans are a little bit impatient now. पहले के time में, like you told about Arsene Wenger, that people don't respect him. I absolutely adore him, because the way he has managed Arsenal, the way he has brought modern football culture over there, video analysis लाना, अपने trainings को improve करना, stadiums में invest करना, अपने youth को develop करना. He scouted a lot of players who he could have signed, but they signed for other clubs, and then they became great. So we hear all the stories that almost could have been at Arsenal, Cristiano Ronaldo included. So you see that he was a visionary, and the patience level of the fans over there at that time and now, it's like बिल्कुल एक mismatch है. So like you said, a bit of a patience रखना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है.
Can I just add to that? I was doing the Chelsea-Arsenal game at Stamford Bridge, and I think it was Arsene Wenger's 1000th game in charge, where they lost 6-0. उसमें Mo Salah ने Chelsea के लिए goal मारा था. Now he's become a Liverpool great and all of that. And I think I was the only one who just felt terribly bad for the man. I'm a Chelsea fan. I love Jose Mourinho. Mourinho hates Wenger, at least did back in the day. There was always this, this rivalry between the two managers, and you've just hammered Arsenal in London, in your home ground, 6-0, and you're only thinking of Arsene Wenger. And that told me that this guy is, we should not attach numbers and stuff like that to judge Wenger. I think he had an impact much greater than that. That's coming from a thorough Chelsea fan. So, respect where it's due.
Yeah, no, seriously. On that note, Anant, I would just like to play with you a simple start, bench, and sell game. Let's go with the easy ones. Here are 3 options: Thiago Silva, Rudiger, and Chalobah.
अब Rudiger को तो sell कर ही रहे हैं, तो sell Rudiger को डाल दो.
नहीं. You got away with ease over here, man. Okay, I'll try a better one. Okay, let's forget that. Kante?
No, but just to answer that, bench Chalobah and start Thiago Silva. Just to finish that.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Kante, Mount, and Kovacic.
Ooh, now that's a tough one, because in Kante, I've got a real favorite, and Mason Mount's the player of the season. Okay. Bench Kante, start Mount and sell the other. Sorry, I had to be done.
Oh, man. Kovacic is very, very underrated. He's one of my favorite players in that Chelsea team, The work that Kante does... Yeah. I hope he's fine after that horrible challenge. But you would start Mount, you would bench Kante, and then you will sell Kovacic. Wow. Okay.
Just so that I have the option of bringing N'Golo Kante on. I can't. I mean, he's too good a player not to have it.
Okay, let's go with this one.
A crazy season.
Anant, let's go with this one. Werner, Lukaku, Kai Havertz.
Kai Havertz is a golden boy. I mean, वो पूरे सीजन कुछ ना करे, लेकिन उसने अपने करियर में ऑलरेडी इतना कर लिया है कि चेल्सी फैंस उसको कभी सेल तो नहीं करना चाहेंगे. Sell Lukaku. Okay. Bench Werner, start Kai Havertz. Just start him. Okay. And if it's a final, definitely start him.
Yeah, he'll score a goal, definitely.
blood creeping up from the heat.